So this is the second of our 3 videos looking at the English language examination. And we're looking now at question 3 and 4 in this clip. We're focusing on how to be successful, but we're particularly looking at how to gain the top grades, the A star. Question 3 is where it really does start to test your ability to think and to think beyond the obvious. Question 3 will always ask you to look at item 3 or source 3 and understand and interpret meaning from the source text. So what does this mean? When you're reading, use your inference skills. Think deeply about what the writer is suggesting. What is the subtext of the source? You're going to have to really drill down beyond the straightforward meaning of the text. It's not just about what the text is about, but it's much more about the effects that the writer is attempting to achieve. Particularly in many of the text, it will be looking at, for example, the emotions, the feelings, the attitudes of the writer. And so you're going to have to think very carefully about the language that's being used. So how do I get full marks? Well, it's by showing a perceptive and detailed response, a detailed explanation of the text, using appropriate quotations, and these are likely to be a series of one-word quotations to support your ideas. As before, you're going to use short PEE, point evidence explain, paragraphs, and try to show you really understand what the question is asking you. So band 4, 78 marks, is again the same words appearing as before, perceptive, detailed. So you're engaging in the detail with particularly in this question with thoughts and feelings. Offers perceptive explanations and perceptions of the text. Employs appropriate quotations to support ideas. So you may make a point inferring the writer's thoughts and feelings. The writer is scared or whatever it might be. And then evidence to support and pinpoint and develop the explanation. That evidence may well be a series of one-word quotations, very carefully chosen. The A star will come in the explanation as you're explaining in great detail, showing that perception, that you really understand how those words suggest those emotions. Question 4 is what many candidates find the most difficult question. It's the language comparison question, which I hope you're practicing on your own as well as in class. That is a tough question. It asks you to compare the way language is used for effect in 2 different sources. It says in the mark scheme that you need to explain why the language is effective and how it suits purpose and audience. Think carefully about that and what it's asking you to do. Mark band 4 again is asking you to be perceptive and detailed in order to gain 13 to 16 marks. So your response offers a full and detailed understanding of the text in relation to language, analyses how the writers have used language differently to achieve their effects, offers appropriate quotations or references in support of ideas with perceptive comments, focuses on comparison and cross-referencing between the texts. Now, when we're talking about language, we're generally talking about words, individual words, and your quotations should certainly be short, and if where possible should be one-word quotations, because you're talking at that level of detail, particularly if you're aiming for the A star. So let's look at a band 2 response. Now the band 2 response does begin well. The writer in item 3 uses emotive language. That's okay, and also uses quotations, glimmers of gold and so on. Huge red ball. It's in the explanation that this candidate really has let themselves down, because this paints a picture in the reader's mind. Well, you could say that about any answer. Makes them want to read on. Essentially, if you can say it about any quote, it's not worth saying. That's not precise. It doesn't really tell us that you understand what you've read and you understand the language. Band 3 is better. It starts in the same way. As you can see, the writer in item 3 uses emotive language and so on, uses the same sort of quotes. But this time the explanation actually tells us something about those specific quotations. So this picture, this paints a picture of a beautiful and one-word quote we're drilling down on, spectacular place, and then takes it one step further. So that a candidate has gained many extra marks and is now in band 3. But look at the band 4 response. Starts in exactly the same way. That's not where the extra marks are. It's in the explanation. It's in the one-word quotations, glimmer and so on, golden, but it's in the explanation. Look at the level of detail, which is connotations of being, and so it goes into great detail. The use of this language gives the impression that, and look at the level of detail that it goes into there. Essentially what this candidate is saying can only be true of those quotations. It's not just some sort of generalised comments. But what makes it band 4 as well is this candidate has taken risks, has gone out on a limb, is saying things, and perhaps you will use words such as perhaps to introduce your ideas here, because what you're saying is something the examiner might not necessarily agree with, but will be very, very pleased that you have taken the risks and have made those comments. Now remember, it's a comparison, and so it's worth reminding yourself of the sort of words and phrases that should be contained in each paragraph in order to draw together quotes from the two different sources. You may well use discursive markers on the other hand, as you can see in the first extract. In the second extract, you can see, which we have in red, rather than using emotive language, i.e. in the first extract, the writer in the second extract uses facts to give the reader. So it's genuinely comparative. And you can see in the band 4, we have, however, rather than use emotive language, and then we have quite a high level of detail about how the two texts compare. So have with you, as part of your revision strategy, think about what words and phrases are suitable for you, that you're familiar with, that you can use to bring together quotations from two different sources into one text.